Yeah.
Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Owen, back again with another video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how you guys can get started in the fashion industry. This is probably the most frequently asked question that I get on my Instagram DMs, so I figured I'd sit down, talk to you guys about this topic, and hopefully you guys will get some answers. I came up with about 5 different paths or tips I think are the best way to get into the fashion industry. I'm sure there's hundreds of different ways to get in, but these are the 5 most effective ones that I could think of. Let's get right into it. Really quickly, I think I should explain who I am, just so those of you who are new to the channel know exactly what I do and what work I do. If you guys have been subscribed to the channel for a while, then you probably know a lot of these or have seen my how I got started in fashion video, but I'll just quickly run over it. So currently I have a lot of different jobs, but probably the biggest one, or like the one I do the most of, is I am Ian Connor's graphic designer. There's no real title to it, but I guess that's like the closest thing to it. Basically, whenever he's a part of a project, I'm also part of that project because we work really, really well together and we think on the same like creative wavelength, I guess you could say. Basically, I'm able to take our vision and kind of put it into real life on a computer screen. Kind of as a subcategory to that, I also work for Revenge Storm, which is Ian Connor's shoe brand. I'm sure a lot of you guys have already heard of that or have purchased those shoes before. I've done a few different colorways and a few different posters as well. I'm also the head designer for a big Revenge Storm collab that's coming around this summer. It's a very, very big project. I also do a lot of freelance work on the side for different brands and companies. Whenever they need me, they'll just message me and I'll do freelance work, and I just kind of charge on a per design basis, I guess you could say. I'm also working on my own brand, but I can't really talk too much about that right now. And then finally, on top of all of that, I'm also studying fashion marketing at art school right now, and I'm currently in my 2nd year. So that basically sums up what I'm currently doing. Now let's talk about the different categories of fashion. I'm sure there's like thousands of different categories, but these are kind of the big 5, I guess you could say. You could be a fashion designer or just a designer in general. You could be a blogger, you could be a model, you could be a stylist, or you could be in marketing. A lot of those kind of go hand in hand, and a lot of people have jobs that kind of correlate with a bunch of those different categories or have different roles attached to them. So I thought of a bunch of tips and tricks or paths you could take to help with a lot of those categories. I'm not going to talk about one in particular in this video. These kind of just cover a broad range of topics. The first big tip that I think everybody should definitely use is to make connections. It's probably the most important thing you can do in your career. Whether those connections are through friends or through coworkers, it's the most important thing you need to learn when you're trying to get started in fashion or just grow in fashion in general. You have to have connections. And then when you're trying to make those connections, you want to make sure you work with people that align with your creative vision, if that makes sense. You don't want to work with people that you don't like and you don't share the same creative ideas with, because it's just not going to mesh well and you're not going to produce very good content. That's just how it works. So you want to work with people that you like and that share the same ideas with you. It's the best thing you can do, and it'll really, really help kickstart your career. I got my start at Size One Supply, which is like a reselling shop in Boston. We worked so well together. We shared the same creative ideas. We made some really, really cool product, and I was able to establish connections from that position and eventually grow and meet other people. If I hadn't liked working at Size One Supply and I didn't like the people there and I didn't share the same ideas, I wouldn't have progressed any further in my career, and I probably would have gave up eventually and tried some other position, but we worked so well, and I'm so thankful that I was able to work there. So if there's one thing to take away from this video, it's to make connections. Just work with people that you like and that share the same ideas with you. I promise it's the best thing you can do. Now the next tip or path that I have is to go to art school and study fashion. Now this is definitely optional. I don't know the exact statistic, but I think around like 50% of people who are in fashion actually studied fashion. So it's definitely optional. You don't have to do it. I chose to go to fashion school because it was right for me. It was the right situation, the right time, and I think it was a great decision for me, and I'm really happy here. I think a lot of people who didn't study fashion in school and have progressed later in their career might tell you not to go to art school just because that schools back then didn't prepare you for the real world. But nowadays art schools really help you prepare for like the real world market and all that stuff. Just to fire off some things that I've learned in my first 2 years here, I learned how to do entire marketing campaigns from the initial ideas to editorial photo shoots and presenting it. I learned how to just design clothes in general because before school I had never designed clothes. I learned how to make CADs and flats in Illustrator, which is really, really helpful, and you definitely need to learn that if you're going to go into fashion design. And also when you go to art school, you're able to access a bunch of resources that you wouldn't be able to outside of school. At my school, if you're a fashion student, you get a free subscription to a website called WGSN, which is probably the most helpful thing that I've ever used. Basically, it's just a fashion hub, I guess you could say. It has trend reports with colors, it shows catwalks, it has CADs and flats like readily available. You can just download them and access them. It's so easy. A regular account for that website I think costs around like $30,000 to $50,000, which is absolutely insane. Like that's a yearly payment. I've downloaded some flats and and I've just studied them for hours just because it's so helpful and you have to learn every little detail. It's really cool. Now the downside is that it's really expensive and not a lot of people have the same opportunity to go to art school. They might live in an area that doesn't have any schools nearby and you have to fly out of country to go visit one. So it's definitely not right for everybody. You definitely don't need it. I promise you don't need it. But if you think that you do want to go to art school, do a couple tours, see if you like the art school, learn about the program a little bit more, and see if it's right for you. Now this next path could help you get your foot in the door at a lot of different companies and brands, especially design companies, and that is to create a portfolio of all your best work, refined work like finished work and process work, because a lot of people like to see your process and apply for a bunch of different internships at those companies. Internships are a great way to get your foot in the door because you start from the very bottom. I know it sucks, but you should definitely start from the bottom because not a lot of people are going to hire you for a paying position right off the bat with no experience. You have to have something to back you up and say that you're credible. You have to be able to humble yourself and work from the very bottom all the way up to the top. And while you are building yourself up, you will make connections in the industry and you can use those connections to help you grow so much faster. One of my marketing professors here told us a really cool story. She worked at a marketing agency where they take dead brands and they try to rebrand them and make them more profitable and successful and out of bankruptcy. And then she wanted to move on from that job and she applied to Adidas. She had so much experience to back her up on her resume, but Adidas had turned her down and gave her an internship position instead. She felt that she was better in that position, but she decided to take it anyways, and she worked there for 9 years and she kept making those connections, and now she's working at one of the top positions in marketing for Adidas, and she's working with people like Rick Owens, Yohji Yamamoto, and Jeremy Scott on those Adidas collaborations, which is absolutely insane, as well as being a professor too. So on the very first day, she told us this story and told us to humble ourselves and work from the very bottom up to the top and make those connections, and you will be successful eventually. Now the next path you could take is definitely helpful for people who want to be a model or a stylist, and that is to do Instagram fashion and to be an Instagram influencer. I can't speak too much on this one because I don't really feel like I have a strong Instagram following, but definitely some stuff that I've learned is you want to stand out, you want to have very unique content, or else you'll just kind of get blended in with all the other Explore tab features. You definitely want to have a unique style that makes people recognize you right off the bat. Just make sure you stand out, have something unique about you. I'd definitely keep using Instagram as that main platform for you because it's obviously something that a lot of your fans know where you are. Once your Instagram has a strong enough following, you will get approached by consultants and other brands that want to do promotion. They'll make you money, and from there you're able to use that platform to get you positions at other jobs and have other experiences. It's a great way to explore the industry, and let's move on. Now the last path is something that a lot of my viewers do, to start their own clothing brand. Now obviously this sounds like a daunting task, but you have to take it one step at a time and it can be very successful. Just like the previous path, you want to make sure your brand is very unique and separates out from the rest of the crowd of other brands and stuff like that. I would say that the general process of clothing brands is that the first collection generally has blanks and then moves on to a cut and sew collection later on. If that first collection of blanks sells really well, they're able to take that money and put it towards the second collection that uses cut and sew and higher quality materials, and they're able to charge more as well. A lot of brands kind of fail early on because they fail to grow with their brand. If the first collection sells well, then they kind of do the same thing second collection, and then their customers kind of get tired of that same thing and then they move on, and then their brand kind of fails. So I'd say a really big tip is to grow your designs with your brand. Obviously you don't want to go too out there on your first collection because it might not do so well in sales, and then you're stuck with a lot of expensive inventory. And if your first collection doesn't sell well, you can always hit the reset button and start a new brand with a new line and a new style, and you can see if that one works. And if it does, then you have a very successful brand and you can keep growing with that one instead. I'm still going through the process of starting my brand as well, so I don't have too much experience with this yet, but I am learning currently. And if your brand does become successful, you're able to do collaborations with other brands, you'll get approached by designers, and you can use that brand as experience when you're applying to other jobs. So basically there's a lot of ways you can take that brand and explore different opportunities as well. Alright guys, those are the tips or paths that I have. Hopefully you guys found this video very useful. It's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly what to talk about because there's so many different ways you can go about getting into fashion, but I think those are 5 definitely useful and very achievable options you can do. If you guys enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, please leave a like and subscribe if you're new. Let me know down in the comments if I missed anything or if you guys have any questions at all. I'll see you guys next week with another video. My name is Owen. Have a good day. Peace out.